Good morning and take number 2. Okay, I'm back. Looks like we had a little bit of display driver issue. I think a Windows update or something tripped and turned back on some display adapters on my laptop and kind of killed the desktop display of the OBS. So got it all back into place, and so now I'm ready to actually go and run with this and see what we can do. So today, instead of playing around in WalkTheWeb program, what I'm going to do is for Halloween, I'm actually going to jump in here and see if we can't add an avatar that has a little bit more, Halloween-ish avatar. So I'm going to show you where I got the avatars from in the first place. I'm going to play around with it a little bit and see if we can't... I'll show you how I had to adjust it and make it work for Babylon. And then we'll play around, maybe get some animations afterwards and teach it different things that we want it to do. But just give it started. Here we go. Let's do some Halloween avatars. And yay, now you can see the code page. That's important. Okay, let me move my stuff over to the left for right now. There you go. Now I'm out of your way, kinda. Well, maybe that's just one side or the other. Oh, pumpkin, Halloween, okay. I guess it doesn't matter. If it gets in the way, I'll move it again. Okay, so for starters, if we go to Mixamo website, they have this option for characters and animations. I clicked on characters, and it gives me a whole bunch of characters here. Some of these look pretty Halloweenish to me. All kinds of zombies and stuff. Ooh, I kind of like this guy. Let's go with him. That's a good start. God, there we go. 2 O's and good. Okay, so I picked an avatar, and the next thing I want to do, and this is what I did on all of the ones that I worked with, is I came in here and I picked an idle so that when I load the avatar, I already have one animation loaded with it. I didn't want to load the T, then load the animations all separately when I could already accomplish the first one right on the spot with the load of the avatar. So to create the avatar, the first thing I did was we need to pick some type of idle animation. Let's see what we have. I kind of like a little bit of movement. He doesn't need to be ready to fight. That's a little paranoid looking around. That's kind of cool. This one moves a little bit faster if we want that. Now we can adjust the speed here too, so either one, it doesn't really matter. We've got a happy-go-lucky one. Dink, 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 dink. We have one here like this, where you're just kind of ready for something. Yeah, I kind of like some of those earlier ones. Let's pick one of these. That gives us a little bit of movement, and he's looking around a little bit, kind of paranoid. Well, if you got hit in the head with a high heel, then I think you would, then you would probably look around too. So then I'm going to click download, and this is an important step. We use FBX files by default. That'll bring in all the animations and everything else. We don't have to worry about the Unity specific one or anything like that, just FBX. With skin, we'll give it the whole design and the animation, or the different image files that go with it. 30 frames per second is fine. You can go down to 24 because it's not really going to make a difference on the, you won't notice a difference in looking at it. 30 or 24 frames might be a little, it might be a little smaller file, so we could probably do that. And also, we can do keyframe reduction because it works fine in Blender. And if I do non-uniform, then what it tries to do is it tries to do the same movements in less actual keystrokes. What that has to do with, I did a little research on this just to understand what it did. When you do keyframe reduction, first of all, when you say none, then every single frame, it tells it where it is for every single muscle and bone along the way on the avatar. And when you do keyframe reduction, then what happens is it tries, if the bone hasn't moved or if it's continuous from this point to this point, it doesn't do every frame in between. It'll just say change it here. Then uniform means when one thing changes, they change them all. And then non-uniform means, hey, if this is the only bone that moved, then just change that one. And it allows it to be non-uniform across the board. Non-uniform, of course, by that definition or that description, means it's going to be the least amount of changes needed in the animation, which means the smallest file possible in exporting it. Okay, so then I'm going to click download. By the way, they do have, just so you see this before I do it, you do have overdrive, which means how far do you want them to move or how fast. All the way down to zombie speeds. Okay, so if I put that back at 50, which is halfway. Also character arm spacing. You see how his arms are about at his side? Watch this. If we go up this way, now they're out. Now they're swinging that way. Or we can have them all the way in, which sometimes intercepts. Yeah, see, we're inside the body now. 50% seems to be, oh, natural. They're there, but they're down. They're not quite being used for anything. Trim the timing. You can tell it how many frames to run and what part of the frames to run, but that's all fine. We just leave that stuff the default. If you run into one, for example, walking, you're going to want the in-place ones because I handle the actual movement in WalkTheWeb. So anytime you export those, keep in mind if there's a checkbox that says in place, you want to use that. Okay, so non-uniform, FBX, 24 frames with skin. We're going to download that particular file. And I'm going to create a place here. Let's see, where can I put this? I have my Blender folder and avatars, and I'm going to call this Halloween just for now. This is basically, okay, wow, Mr. Meyer Ho Desbins. Okay, we're going to call it Halloween. We'll just call it Halloween. It's easier for me to remember. Okay, so Halloween idle. We're going to click Save. And then we're going to open up Blender. Now, this is an important thing. In Blender, when you start working with these different files, it's actually better if you create the Blender. I'm going to delete this beginning box, and then what I want to do is, before I've done anything else, I want to take and I want to save and create the Blender file, because I've noticed that when you take something from one place and then you move it, and when you go back and forth, when you move it to a different place and then you save it and stuff, what happens is it doesn't know the relative position for the images, and they could end up in a different folder, or they create subfolders and all kinds of fun stuff. But for us, we're going to go ahead and put it in this file, and I'm going to just call this Halloween Man. We don't even have to say man, just Halloween. We'll just call him Halloween. Save the Blender file. And once I have the Blender file saved, there's a few things about this. First of all, there's a Babylon exporter. And in that, I always click on manifest, write the manifest file, because when I export it, I use the manifest file with it too, so that I can load those things separately. Other than that, basically, I'm not changing anything yet, and I'll talk about things as I do it. First thing is file. Now that we have the file here, we're going to import FBX, and there's our FBX file because we saved the file in that same folder. Import FBX file. And the first thing you're going to notice is it's this little bitty guy down in the center of the screen here. One of the things about Babylon is you have to do all of the transformations. So if I change the size, do the rotation, set the location, or anything else to this particular file, the transformations have to be in place. Which means after the transformation, everything is 0 rotation, 0 there, and scale is all 1, 1, 1, 1. And when you do that, though, of course, right now, it is 1/100th of a scale to get you this size. which means the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to apply these transformations, which is going to change the size of the file. First thing, we're going to set that to 0. Notice he just laid down. Actually, we're going to leave that at 90. We're going to be able to apply that one, but the scaling one is the one that's the most important. Watch what happens when I go to 1 to 1 to 1. Now, if I back up, look how big he is. We even lost the grid down on the bottom because it's so tiny in comparison to him. Think about this being 100 times larger than the file that we just received. The good part about it is this is going to work, and this is the size that we need to import. But if I put that in my scene right now, it is going to be that much bigger than what I need in my actual scene. So we do some scaling things on WalkTheWeb side when you import them so that you can end up being to scale in the particular scenes. We'll work on that. We'll get it there. We'll get it there. Okay, so now the other part is, now that I have the scale, the first thing we need to do is we have the object selected, which is everything, by the way. And we're going to say object, apply, and rotation and scale. Notice they went to 0 and it didn't move the rotation of him or anything. It went to 0. Also, -0 was going to be an issue for exporting to Babylon. So it's a good thing we applied it. It became a regular 0. Everything's fine on here now. And we have the different parts. I'm going to expand this a little bit so you can see what we actually have. In this particular case, they actually have the body, which is all one piece, this whole guy. Then they have the shoe as a separate mesh. That's perfectly fine. We won't have any trouble with that particular part. But there's a couple things we're going to do. Notice the animation's all fine. When we select the object, notice it has an animation. If I come down here and play it, he will move around. If you apply the transformations the way I did and went to just that one piece where we went to 1 to 1 to 1 scale, and you do that and apply the transformation, it will not screw up the animation. But if you try to rescale it, except the point, instead of changing it to 1, 1, 1, if you just try to apply the transformation, all of the animations end up out of whack because they were designed around the scale before it changed. It will look really weird and you'll have all kinds of trouble with it if you do. Okay, so we have 97 frames. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the end to 97 frames. There's no reason for us to load more frames than it needs. There's another place that it sets it, just so you know. You can do it on the first screen over here. It sets to end frame 97. That way we know that's the loop that we're actually going to be working with. There's no reason to export to 250 frames and then find out it's only using 97 of them. Just want to let you know that piece. The next part is, once we have that in place, by the way, you see how he's all gray? If you click here, which is on the, which tab is this? Current editor type 3D view. If you click here, you can actually go to material, and in this case, notice he's all black. So what we need to do is one piece at a time, select the mesh, and if we go to this tab over here for material, one of the things that comes by default is it doesn't emit any light. So for shading, we need to at least set that for some type of light. Once you set it to 1, which is, good representation of what you're probably going to need. If I set it to 1, now he shows up. We'll do the same for the shoe. Go down here, emit, set it to 1. Now we have the colors and the objects within that. Notice also another little piece here. If I go here and then I basically, let's go to body material, and we're on that material, and I click there, it shows me the image that it uses. It's coming from file 4, which is part of the original mesh, so it's actually an image that's locked within the actual Blender file. If you wish, I'm going to save it first, but if you wish, you can come down here, external data, automatically pack into Blender, or unpack all into files. If I click that, use files in current directory, create when necessary. We'll just write files to current directory, overwrite existing files. And now if we look in that folder, let's bring open a folder view. Just navigating to it for you. And in here, this is what I want to show you. It creates the textures. Those are the textures that are loaded into this file. Now the thing about it is, in WalkTheWeb, we like to use them all in the root path. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually copy the files into the root path here, and then little by little what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over here, and let's open that up a little bit more. Okay, so for this part here we have all these various files, and it's not going to let me select each file here. Notice we have all these different files right there. All I have to do is, for each one of these, notice it's going into the textures directory. All I have to do is back up, well, hang on, cancel that. All I have to do is, in the path, take the word textures out of it. You could browse it if you want, but basically I'm doing the same thing. I'm using the exact same file. I didn't change the file name. All I did was say the file path should be in the directory right before it. We're going to, I don't want to change any of the other things. Okay, notice that's on file 4. I'm going to switch to these other files for a second just so we can do the same thing. Once they're all set, it won't be a problem in any of the folders, so any use of that same file. So we just want to switch to each one of these. Texture 5, and we'll get rid of that. I'm just changing the root path so that it uses them out of the same directory that I'm using them. And 6. I'm just leveling it out. Basically, we're almost there. This will let me hit every one of the files. See, that's the shoe. I did one too many letters. It was an M. Okay. And hit enter. It should found that file. Yeah, we're good. The other part, 7 and file 9. Okay, now that I have those files in place, notice text isn't being used. That's not actually a texture. We're good to go. And now if I put it back on 4, he gets his old appearance back. But now it's referencing every file in the current directory. That's an important step for using the stuff the way we do. Another thing that you can do is on this tab for data, scroll down and there's a section for Babylon, and you can tell it to check collisions. That way he can't run into things when he's being used. Don't worry about cache shadows and receive shadows, because that actually does the stuff when he's being used in here and everything. But since WalkTheWeb actually handles that for you, you don't have to worry about the individual pieces. It will automatically cast and reflect shadows as it needs to and stuff. If you want, you can select them and try different things. The one you don't want is freeze world, because when you freeze the world, the animation isn't going to work. So right now we have this little guy. He basically has all this. It's working. We can run the loop. Notice because we set it to the right size, it loops back and forth now. And that's the guy that we want to export. So we say save. Another thing you can do, and this is just a hint also. Each one of these files, notice how some of these files are very large. We have 4 meg just for this diffuse character here. If I edit that file, in my case, I'm editing in Open With. I have PaintShop Pro. You can do this in other programs also. But if I take that file, just showing you a little trick, The smaller the files are, the faster it's going to download the files and load it. So even though Babylon will expand the file, even if it's shrunk, it will expand the file when it goes to load it and apply it to the mesh. At the same time, smaller files will transfer faster to the end user's computer though. Okay, let me bring this on over. Oops, come on. Okay, and this is PaintShop Pro. And okay, so PaintShop Pro, what I have is I've loaded this image in here. I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm not actually going to change the name. And notice I still have that textures folder, so I made a copy of the originals, so I still have them. But Options, Run Optimizer, and notice, let me get that over to this screen too. What it allows me to do is uncompressed, it's 16 megabyte for this file. That's huge that it has to work with. But if I compress this file to a certain amount, and notice the dithering and stuff, you can set the settings that will help work with this file. I can knock it down to 807 kilobyte. That'll transfer to the end user much faster and then be able to load from there. So I'm going to click OK, and already instead of a 4 meg file, I'm going to click yes on that. And if I bring that back up, notice 808 kilobytes instead of 4 meg. This is kind of an important step for helping the files load or download faster to the end user. If you want to use the big files on the other end, that's up to you and everything, but this does help with the download speed. So I'm just going to take these 3 files and shrink them because it doesn't change appearance. We're not changing anything about the actual graphic that we're using. We're just changing, we're shrinking it so that it downloads faster. Save As, go in here, Options, Run Optimizer, and in this case, we get it down to 689 kilobytes instead of 16 meg again. Much smaller, much faster downloads. Okay. And the next part is, let's go to the next one. There's only 3 of them that were large. I'm not going to worry about 213 and 199, even though those would probably shrink even smaller. We could do all of them just to do them. In fact, there's only 6 files. Why not? This file here, File, Save As, Options, and Run the Optimizer. And compressed, it's going to be, see this one, 16 meg, brought it down to 1 meg. It still didn't get as small. What I could do is I could change the dithering, and each time you do, I believe, it should change that number. There it goes. It's a lot of dithering just to get it. I'm trying to get it down under 1 meg. Am I going up or down? Oh yeah, I'm going up. That's the wrong way. It was on 15%. I'm going to go to 13%. 10%. There we go. I just wanted it to be under a meg. That's just my goal. Notice how the images still hold true and we still have all the details. So we haven't hurt the original image. We've just compressed it so that it can download faster. And I click yes. And that is that file. And 3 more to go. Open with, where is it? There it is. Open with this. I know, I could probably drag it across and it'd probably do the same thing. File, Save As, Options, Run Optimizer, and this particular one, we're at 10. We could go back to 15 just because it was a good number anyway. We're going from 1 meg to 59K. That's pretty good. Okay, save, yes, and see, we can even make these files smaller. Anything that helps the download speeds. File, Save As, Options, Run Optimizer, and 35 instead of 768. Big difference in download speeds. Okay, close off both of those, and the very last file right here. Open with that. Okay, files, save as, options, run optimizer, and we're dropping that one down to 63K. Save, yes. And it overwrites our other files, but remember it was a copy to begin with, so we haven't heard our originals. And now notice what a bit, that's a lot smaller. Instead of about 13 meg, we're doing about 3 meg download. Much faster downloads. I know, I laugh and type laugh. Okay, now that we have that in place, let's get out of that app. Let's move that out of our way for a minute. We have this, and the next piece is we've already transformed. We've already checked our animation. It all still works. We haven't modified anything in that area. And so now I'm going to export as Babylon file. If you don't have these options for Babylon in here, there's a Babylon exporter you can download. And let's see, you can download, just look up Blender Babylon export, and it's an open source exporter, but it'll allow you to get those files. So I have Halloween Babylon, export Babylon scene. Takes a couple seconds. And there we go. Now I have, notice, Babylon, Babylon manifest, and these image files. Technically, that's all I need to run this in a scene. So let's go to WalkTheWeb. I have just this is just my test scene, but I'm going to throw them in here just so we can see what we want them to do. I want to be able to, let me just walk backwards a little bit here. I'm going to turn a little bit. We have a skull up there. That was a little fun we did yesterday. Showed how easy it is to add things. I'm going to add him in here as just a Babylon object right now. I'm not going to set him as an avatar because I haven't set up the code to be able to import him as an avatar yet. But that's kind of my goal. But for now, what I want to do is edit this building, and I'm going to add 3D web object, and it's going to be Babylon file. Now, there's a couple parts here. The first thing is, okay, I'm not worried about how tall it is or where it sits yet. You know what, the other piece is I'm going to get my avatar out of the way by clicking on avatar camera. Now my camera is separate than my actual avatar. Okay, and I'm telling it to put it right there. I moved it down to ground zero, and this, position doesn't mean too much. But if we select 3D object, it gives me the option to upload. This is your primary file, which means what we need here is we need it to be the actual, we're going to grab Halloween. We're going to grab the Babylon file itself. So Halloween.babylon. That's the master file for creating the Babylon object. We want to download that first. Once it's created the object, then we can edit this, which will allow us to do some additional things. One of them is we can add the other files. So now I want to add the manifest file, and I want to add the images. I'm sorry, I haven't set this up to add multiple images at once yet. That's something that I'm going to do before long because we do this so often. I'm definitely going to make it easy for everybody. But in the meantime, if you just click on them one at a time, you'll be able to get them all in here. The other part that you should know is that you can't create directories, so that's why we put it all in one. The other thing is, if you need to replace a file, all you have to do is select the same file. It automatically overwrites the file if it already exists. So just by selecting it, it will replace the file that's already there. Okay, now that we have that all on the server, there is another little piece we did. We have an animation. You know what? Let me do this in 2 steps. When we close that out, after we've uploaded our files, we can click select. Now it will load our guy. Notice how big he is. That's what I was talking about. We have Mr. Giant here. That's the scale because we had to transform it to 1 to 1 to 1 to make all the animations stay in place. But if I come in here now and let's go, oops, not 2, let's go the other direction. And I'm going to make him, well, let's start with 10. If I go to 0 and then up, it gets there a little bit faster. And I'm 10. And we'll see how big he is. Okay, now he's more my height in my scene. If I want to make him a little bigger, I can. It's easy enough to just click the buttons and scale him to whatever size you need him to be. Once it's set, he'll always be that size, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, because I loaded the animations, then I scaled the whole object with the animations in place, I can scale it here without any problem. When I tried to do it the other one, you had to apply the transformations, which basically applied the, if I tried to just apply the 100% scaling that was original, it would have broke all the animation distances that it had to travel on every single one of the bones. But by doing it this way, it goes all intact, loads into Babylon. Now we scale the completed thing, which means scale the animation also. So that's just a workaround to be able to do it. Okay, now notice we have him here. He's here. We do not have any animations. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to add the animations. You can go back through Select Object here. Oh, excuse me. Or the other thing is, at any time, this is the object we're working with. If you go to Media Library, 3D Objects, this is that object. You can drop it in multiple scenes and use it multiple times, but it is the one we're dealing with. So if I edit this guy, what I want to do is I want to apply that animation we did. So I'm going to click on Add Animation. Now I can call this anything I want, but what I try to do is I try to make it something that makes sense. So in this case, I'm going to call it Halloween, which is the character that I have, onload. As long as it's only used once in the scene, that name stays unique, and what will happen is if you wrote some other JavaScript code, you could actually call this animation or this JavaScript on your own to start the animation. You can just, if you even just applied that, you already have that animation in place. The other thing is, I'm going to tell it to use onload. I could say on click, and then it won't start the animation until you actually click on him. So there's different things you can do, but I'm just going to click onload so that it starts when I start. If you leave mesh name blank, it uses the whole framing of everything in the scene as the mesh name. So you do not have to set one. If, for whatever reason, I created multiple animations and each object had their own animations, then I would have to put this name of the object that I'm talking about when I set the animation here. Okay, but because this one is a whole armature and it's all the bones working in succinct, then I don't need to put anything there. The other thing I'm going to show you is we have these files here, and I want to show you what's in the Babylon file, because this part becomes very important to determining where your animation is happening. Notice in here what you'll have is any one of the things, you'll see these frame counts, and any one of them will tell you, here's bones, here's the hips, and each one of these, you're going to see it repeated over and over again. You have the hip, then you have the spine. Each one of the bones have a series of animations per frames defined per bone. That was part of that, the way we exported it, and also the way that Babylon uses it. Notice it starts on frame 1, and you can also see this in here. Let's see. We have the armature, we have the bones, the hip bone, and it tells us the frame per second and everything. I thought it listed the start and stop frame. But, okay, it's fine. We still see that, notice it's frame 1 through frame 97. Now, that makes sense. We knew there were 97 frames. But I do have to warn you that there are times, depending on how you save your animations, it may stack more than one animation in the frame at the same time. If it does, this thing where you want it to work and it's your animation may start on, let's say, 105, and then it ends at 202 or something. That's the kind of thing you need to double check in the file itself so that you get the start and stop frame correct. So we know it's going to run from frame 1 to frame 97. Those are the total count of frames and every position that it's going to go within that frame. So in our app, all I have to do is set starting frame equal to 1, end frame 97. Then there's this option we can tell it to loop. So we're going to say animation loop. And just so you know, there is another section here. You can actually change or set the speed ratio. 1 is going to be the same speed that you had in Blender, but you have the option to speed it up or slow it down any way that you like. So we can play around with that if you wanted. Now another thing is if you didn't loop, then you have the option to say animation end script. When that script ends, what do you want it to do? And you can tell it to fire off a JavaScript. That gives you the most flexibility of how you input them in here and what can happen afterwards. The next thing you can do is you can also select a sound, and you can tell it how far the sound should be able to produce. Like if you're within 100 clicks, it's going to know to play that sound, and it gets louder as you get closer. So you can select a sound, tie it in there, and if the item is set to loop the animation, the sound will automatically loop also. So we could have some fun with that later on, but I'm just letting you know that works. Yeah, that's another option as part of the end script. You can stop the animation when it plays the end script and it'll completely stop. Okay, and if we just say save animation, now, oh, it didn't load the animation. What's going on? What did we break? Did I break something? Well, it wouldn't be a proper thing if I didn't break something along the way. Why did it have a problem over there? We didn't tell it to run anything over there. 2168 on shopping. We don't have, this isn't even part of the shopping piece. Okay, I'm going to add animation. And this is going to be, I'm going to try it one more time just to see what it's doing. Okay, JavaScript, we're going to do onload and start frame 1, end frame 97, and animation loop, save animation. Now it didn't load it. We're gonna check something. We're gonna find that. We're gonna make this work because this is a cool feature and I want to make sure you can see what it does. If it had saved it, when we refresh the page, we're gonna find out if it's a problem saving the item or if it's an actual problem with, I just want to see if it's happening there or here. And the animation did not work, so we know it is part of, it's not actually saving the animation. So, put on our troubleshooting hat. We're going to fix this and make it work. I don't need that. And we're going to find out what's going on and see if we can't get that all in place. We want this to work. Okay. Before, so I don't have to keep on moving around every time I load the page, I'm going to set the starting position to use current position. That means I'll start the scene with him in the scene and you can see him. The next thing is we're going to go back here and media library. We're going to set some telltales in place and see if we can't find out what's going on with this particular piece. There's add animation, and when we click that, it runs add animation. Oh, wait a minute. On click add animation. That doesn't have a WTW in front of it. I think I just found our problem. We're not running the actual file because of that very thing. Let's get over to our server. Let me close a few things just so that I don't kill anything when I'm doing this. We'll close the paint program. We're done using that. Making sure I don't kill too many things at one time. Loading up our server app. And coming in here. I already know what file it's in, but I'm going to find this. Add animation, find in files. It's going to be on the uploaded file details page. That's where, oh, it has its own built-in function. No wonder I didn't make it the global one. Okay, that's all fine. I just didn't realize I did that. Yeah, that works fine. Get delete name focus, boom. Add animation. That's the button to start the process. Okay, but when I click add animation, oh, I had the wrong button, sorry. Let's go to, when I tell it to save animation, we're going to run checked object animation ID. Okay, fine. And where's that? There's our button. And oh, that's interesting. Oh, we're not going to find it with that more than once. That's what we need to look for. And checked object animation, that tells it to get the random string. That doesn't tell us. And submit this button. When it does submit, what's happening? We're going to make sure. We're going to check this stuff up here. Server request method equals post. I want to make sure that, okay, upload path is not affected right now. We should, if we have this, we should run that process. Excuse me. So we're going to check that value right here. And it's this one, so we're gonna, oops. We're gonna echo out this and see if we can't figure out what the value is. And okay, we have no. Reminds me of the old Green Acres. Am I the only one that has old stuff running through their head all the time? And the next thing I want to check is, did it actually get into this section? We should get the word yes. If that happens, that'll be enough. That'll tell us we got there. And we'll put that there. Now let's test that process and see if it loads that particular part. Go to the console. We just need to see how far we made it through the code and see if we can't get the rest of the way. We'll make it work. I have faith in us. Okay, add animations, and we're going to call it the same thing we did before. We're going to say onload frames 1 through 97. I even know this isn't going to work, but yet I still want to set the proper things. If anything does work, I want it to be right. Save animation, and what do we have? That and yes. Okay, we made it that far. That's a good sign. That means we made it into WTW animations. That's global, and that's been loaded right there. So we know that we should have gotten that far. Since we have that information and got that far, now it's time to check what happens in that actual code, which is WTW animations. Let's get some of this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to move this over, make it bigger. Class WTW animations, alphabetical, we can find that. Animations right here. And save object animation. Boy, that's the one we're looking for, I believe. Save object animation, just so we can double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 pieces that are getting passed into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pieces. Okay, we're getting the right number of values. And let's find out what happens right here. I'm going to do the same thing. We have this value. Oh, it's the same value. Okay, we're going to check to see if it already exists. It should come up blank because we already know it's not found. And then just because of that, I'm going to see what it says. Well, found is going to be true. It's not going to actually show us anything. I could do found.toScreen or something like, I don't know, string value of found. For here, let's just... Yes, set it. That'll be our key that it made it that far. I want to see if it made it past the past that. We have iframes. We have this. We should get this far, but I'm going to double check that. You know, there's one more thing we can do. Let's look here. Let's get our SQL Server, and let's find out. Oh, wait. Undefined index WTW T stop current animations. Okay, that's happening on upload details. That's where our problem is. So because it runs into that, it never passes it into the part. Let's find out what's going on there. T stop current animations. And we should see this someplace on the page. Well, let's see. Oh, it's going to be one of these parts down here. T-stop current animations. Oh, it's a checkbox. Oh. There's going to be something weird about the checkbox, I bet. Undefined index, though. That's not undefined. We found it right here. Type input there, name checkbox. We're allowed to process that, and if it's set clicked, then we have a 1. I do not know why that wouldn't pass with everything else. That should have been able to do it, especially since it found the other pieces around that. We got the one right before it, but we didn't get that one, so there's something weird about that one. Why would it have a problem there when it found open parameters? Well, you know what we can do? Let's try this. I could set it as a variable. Current animations. I don't know why that didn't read that. I don't see any reason. It was on the page and it loaded it, so that's not an issue with that. Well, let's test something else here. Is this from that same part of the page? Yeah, it's the very next line. We have name, we have ID. Those are both set. That's usually what I screw up on. Those are both the same. ID, name. Class, no change. None of this other stuff is affecting that piece. Okay. Let's see if we're getting into the actual function. Let's double check that anyway. We're almost there. We're almost there. Creating our Halloween avatar here. Come on, media library, object. This is something I've used before too, which really troubles me is that I can't add a new one, but before it was working. Let's see if it gets into the actual function, because if it does, maybe it's just a case that it doesn't know how to write it as an insert. It's very possible. See if we show this. That box that it was having trouble is this particular one right here. Stop current animation when played. Save. And see, it didn't even run the process, so we're not getting that far. But at the same time, the one that does the T animation loop works just fine. That's also a type checkbox. Nothing different on that piece. You know what? I want to make sure we don't have more than one of them. Yeah, that's the only 3 places. Okay, I didn't double up on the item. Okay, fine. We're going to do something at the moment just to get past this and double check. For the moment, we're gonna just test this by saying stop animations is 0. And I'm going to just remark out that for the moment. I want to see if everything else works around it, because there's something weird going on with that particular name. And this will tell us if that's the case. And media library, objects, Halloween, edit him. And here we go, add animation, Halloween unload. JavaScript, it's going to be the unload, and start frame 1 to 97, and loop the animation, save animation, and now it's set. It didn't show it here either. That's very interesting. Okay. We're going to do something with that. We're going to make sure that works. The other part is we have in the database, let's see if that caused an error. Stop current animations. I don't think it did another one. I think it's the same one. Yeah, that's the same one we already worked with. That was all stuff that I've already fixed, so let's go ahead and delete those rows and clear them. As I fix things, I delete them out of there because there's no reason for me to store it and remember what I already fixed. We have uploaded objects, and if I sort this by create date descending, then I should get the one we just created right at the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the object animations. And no, we do not have, it did not save it. So let's find out once again what's going on with this thing. This is something that worked. So somewhere down the line, I changed something around and it broke it. So now I'm recovering what happens here. We know we went into this function. We know that we made it this far. So then if found, oh, that would help. Else, update. If it's found, we do the update. We only do the insert if it's not found. So these two are backwards. Okay, so we're going to swap those around. Sometimes you just gotta get them right. Here we go. That will put it, if it's already found, then it does an update. Otherwise, it does an insert. That takes care of that part of it. Make sure I did all the other things right. We have our table prefix. We have upload and object animations. Object animation ID, we passed one already in here because I did assign it before it got this far, and that's why we're looking to see if it exists, and then we do this process. Okay, that was an interesting backwards turn of events, because how would this have worked before? I don't know. I think I added additional security or changed the way I did it, and as soon as I did, I broke it and didn't test it or something. I don't know. But we're going to get it working here and go from there. So add animation, name our file again. We're going to do the onload, start frame 1, go into 97. We're going to make it loop, and we're going to save animation. And now let's double check in the database. Did it actually do something here? First of all, that part is good. And this part, yay, we have it right there. It loaded it into the database. That's a good sign. Also, we show it here, so it was able to read it back from the database after it loaded it. Now that I have that piece in place, when I refresh, notice when I changed it, I didn't actually load the animation to the scene right when I did it, but as soon as we refresh or somebody else browses it or anything, then we should have some animation in here. So let's check it. Oh, he's facing that way. What's he doing? He's loading his animation. There it is. Animation is loaded. Ah, there we go. There we go. We have a guy with animation. Yay, happy Halloween. Woo, woo, woo. And I'll come over a little bit farther in front of him. The other thing is, notice even with the animation running, we can still right-click him, and we can do things like rotate him, so we can tell him to face more this direction. And you can bring him around wherever you want him to be. Whatever you need it to be. But notice we have some control over him. And there we go. We've added a new 3D object. We've included animation, and we're ready to scare somebody for Halloween. I'm going to find out why that's doing that, because I shouldn't have even been calling that at that point in time. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to double check that piece. Well, the problem is this. I already know what it's doing. That's part of the shopping. And if you look over in my scene, I have a shopping cart item right here. When I edit something else, and even though I'm not working with that particular item, let's just lower this a little bit. Oh, it's doing a double image. That happens sometimes when I move them too fast. Save this object. He's here, and that happened a second time. So what's happening is this piece is firing off on the save, and it's actually catching something, but it's not this object, so it has a problem where it doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to make sure that it only happens when you're editing that particular product. But yes, we've added our guy over here. Now, just to kind of close out this piece that I've been working on with you, I just want to show you this. It's kind of cool. When we do the animations for an avatar, you notice how when I did that one with Blender, I created the animation and I put the first animation in with him so that when we load him, he has his idle animation already part with this complete person. Well, there's no reason. Let's say I wanted to add a specific walk for him, kind of like a zombie walk or something. If I want to add a walk for him, then the thing is with the animations is I do not need his skin. I don't need the files. I don't need the graphics. I do not need any part of him. But if I download just the bones, the armature, then what happens is it doesn't attach to a mesh. and it won't move the animation. But I learned a trick and I tried something and I was able to overcome that. So I want to show you the trick I learned. If I come in here, I'm going to say new file, and I'm going to add a walk for this guy. So first I'm going to save the file, and I'm going to put it in the same file. I'm going to call it Halloween Walk. And now let's go find our file. If we go back to here, we go back to Mixamo, and let's find walk. I'm looking for some cool walk for this guy, something that's very specific to him. Notice that's kind of a beast walk. Oh, also, anyone that we do, we're going to do in place. I handle the movement in WalkTheWeb, so you don't have to. But there we go. That's kind of, that's not bad. Oh, here's a funny one. That's kind of that is kind of funny. And notice there's a rate. We can even make it go a little bit faster.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty funny one. Looks like he's sneaking up on somebody. And it can be whatever speed we want it to be. Okay, let's go about that fast. And carefulness. How funny. Let's see what carefulness does. Oh, okay, I get it. When he's really careful, he's like, careful, careful step, don't get caught kind of thing. Oh, there's also a stride, so we can tell it how big of a stride to do. Or, yeah, so there's a stride setting. Override, this one usually has to do with arms and stuff. Oh, no, that's the speed. Okay, so that's the speed. Oh, rate. Okay, so there's a rate and a speed. There's a couple different pieces here. Let's go middle of the action for rate and see what happens. And then, okay, that's pretty cool. And then if we override this with a little bit faster, so he's moving pretty good, but he's stepping carefully. Okay, so in place is the most important part. The rest of these, you can pick anything you want. Now, here's the deal. We have this particular piece, and when I download it, now the thing is, I don't need the skin. So if I download it without the skin, I can still do the FBX file. I can still do 24 frames per second and non-uniform, remembering all the keyframing. And what happens is when I download this piece, let's put it in our folder over here, right with the other. This is going to be Halloween Walking. We'll save that. And let's go back to Blender. Now, I'm going to leave this box here. Actually, just to show you what I do, I'll delete the box. We'll first get the animation in place. So we bring the file, we import FBX, and we get our Halloween Walking. Now, remember, it's small. The first thing we need to do is look at our keyframes. There's 52. Let's change this over here to 52, so that becomes the full cycle that it can repeat on. Then also, we come down here, we make sure that we've selected under, where is it? That's not the right one. It's this one. Over here, we want to make sure we're writing the manifest file. Then, as we select the armature, notice the armature itself is scaled, and notice this part right here. This is where we get thrown off. This is exactly the way the rotation was and the scale was that we did on our original. The only way we can work with this is if we set it to scale equals 1 to keep the animations in place. But by setting the scale to 1, notice if I back up, that's where all the bones are. So they are much bigger than what I had before and out of place. Now let me get this snap back to the center. That keeps my cursor in the center. But notice there is no mesh in here, which means that there is no weight movement. There is no attachment of the box to, the body to it or anything. I can take and substitute something, what I learned, but I can't do it unless there's something there. So what I like to do is I go to center 0, 0, 0. Oh, by the way, okay, wait, one step before that. On that armature, we need to apply rotation and scale transformations so that everything is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 1, 1, 1 for scale. Now we've applied all those different pieces. Next, I'm going to add a mesh, and all I'm going to add is a cube. The reason I add the cube is the cube itself. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can kind of see it. We'll go down and we'll, oops, go back up. There's the cube. All it is sitting directly underneath the place right at 0, 0, 0. We don't have to transform it. It's already a 1 by 1 by 1 and a 0, 0, 0 box. But the other part is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to set it to a material. I'm going to set it to black, black. I'm not going to have it emit anything because I don't want you to see it anyway. But transparency, and I'm going to set it to 0, 0, 1. This is a trick. When I set it to full transparency, it didn't exist, kind of, and I was running into little issues with that. But when I set it to 0, 0, 1, you can't see it in a Babylon scene. It's basically transparent. That lets me put this little box here that has no effect on the armature and everything else. But now that I have this little box, what I can do is I can take the box, click on the armature, and then do Alt-P, not Alt-P, Control-P for parent, and armature with automatic weights. By doing this, it tells the armature to pay attention to the mesh underneath it to get the weights of what gets moved. Well, we're going to put this into the scene and we're going to basically swap out the cube for the actual mesh of the avatar when we're using it. So once we've done that, now we have an invisible cube, but it does have weights so that when the armature moves, it knows to check those weights and see what it has to move. It turns out that cube doesn't have to be there, but we do have to have something. And the cube is just enough. It's, 6 points, 6 faces, 6 points. That's all it took to give it enough that it has an item that it has to apply the weights to. Now that we've done that, if I come in here and I save this, we can also export as a Babylon object. Notice this one is about as clean as they get. By doing this, I get Halloween Walk, and notice 288K. That is my complete animation. Before, the Halloween guy himself was 881 plus all of the images on top of that. Now, with just 288K, I've added an animation to that existing avatar that we've already loaded. That's all it took to do. Okay, now that we've done that, I do not have it set up for you to actually take control and apply the walk to the person or anything. Excuse me, not yet. We'll get to that at a later time, but for now, that was kind of a cool little feature, is that you can create them, you can add those parts, and you can apply it into the thing. Now that we've created that animation, I just want to show you a couple seconds here. Well, let me get to, not that one, but in here. In the code, when I load the avatars, there's one of the files in here under avatars is load avatar. In load avatar, there's all these things, setup mode, everywhere else. Well, let me show you. This is a two-part thing. In basic avatars, when it loads the avatar, notice it comes in here, and if you look at the code closely right here, import mesh, it looks for the object folder and the object file. That is the avatar that has the idle, the very first one. That is our active mesh, that's our character, that's everything. Once we have that, Then we come down here and I tell it what to do with it. I name every bone that it does so that you can have more than one in a scene and it can be instanced so that everything works properly like our scenes do. We set whatever colors that you told it to have on that avatar so you can adjust the coloring. We then start to load all the various animations. We load up the initial one and we check it, which is your idle. And then we come in here and we tell it for every for every idle or every thing, we load a weighted animation and we tell it to load whatever that animation is. In this case, we had to load certain ones and then move to a certain function afterwards, which is after we've done that, we tell it to load animations. That one's running the animation. Okay, we're putting each one of them into place, and basically then we tell it to loop through and load their additional animations. The additional animations are... let's see, it's after saved avatar, it's after these. Okay, I could search for animation and get there faster. We're almost there. Load animations, all that has to do with testing them. Animation, do. There's a particular one I'm looking for. Nope. Okay, let's go back to that one. It could have been that load animations all. There's a particular one that... Okay, here it is. Get saved avatar. Okay, fine. Animation. Okay, in this process... That's not the part. Sorry. We're not in the right section yet. Load avatar animations. This is the one it does. Okay, this one, what it does is it actually runs this process over and over again until all your animations are loaded. So for each animation, this process gets run. What it does is it takes it, it says, here's your avatar, here's your animation index of all these listings. It uses an array. So we build the array, then we come in here. Awesome. Hey, welcome everyone. So basically we're coming in here and we're, yeah, loving it. Thank you guys. Hey, everybody's welcome. Yeah, we're 4 people away from being an affiliate. So I really appreciate you guys coming in here and hanging out with us. Basically, what I've got is I've created a program called WalkTheWeb, and what it is it's basically the same. It's like WordPress does for traditional websites. WalkTheWeb actually does for games. It uses Babylon underneath it. Allows programmers to create plugins and all kinds of cool stuff. Everybody's welcome, of course. And basically, what it's going to do is programmers are going to be able to create freemium things where you can say, hey, I'm great at making cars, so you can come in there, create a car, people can plug it in and then use it into their scenes. And we've done different things like, for example, I'm just showing how we can grab an avatar from Mixamo with animations and stuff and then drop them into our scenes and use the animation. That kind of stuff doesn't require any programming. We can put different things in scenes. We're doing 3D stores. My whole goal is I want to make it where, let's say you create a golf course or a miniature golf course or something. You can have people go there and that golf course can be added to many scenes. One of the things I did to make this all come together and work is, man, you guys are making my day. I just have to say that right now. I love it. I've never seen my numbers this high. I appreciate it. But okay, here's the concept. What I did was I broke it down into 3 parts. First of all, we have 3D communities, which are the scenes. Then we have 3D buildings, which don't have to be a building. It can be any area within a scene at all. And then what happens is You can also have 3D things, which are like your avatars, your furniture, your vehicles, and all the other stuff that you build. By breaking them down into those three parts, we can mix and match them. I can build one building, for example, a Starbucks store, and I can drop it into many different scenes. The cool part is they don't have to be on the same server. And this is all open source, so down below the screen there, you can see there's a link to GitHub. You can download the code, and you can actually use this open source, put it on your own server, write plugins for it, and everything else. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make this where we can do things like Ready Player One. We can create games. People can go there and meet and do all kinds of cool stuff. That's what we're doing. We're creating all these different pieces. Man, thank you so much for following me. You guys are awesome. I love it. I love it. But yeah, so I code on here. I'm here almost every day. We're doing everything from, okay, what I'm doing is I'm enabling it so that a programmer can actually create whatever they want. Since it uses Blender behind the scenes, you're going to be able to put your code in there, your script, and run it directly into... run it directly natively right into the scenes just by dropping it in. You can also create things in Blender, which, for example, we took these from Blender right here. I set it up where all you have to do is import the object, export from Blender as a Babylon object, load it into here, and then you can set all the different files, which includes any of your extra stuff that needs to travel with it, like your images. You can also add animations, and you can define what type of animation you want it to do. This is all available through JavaScript too, so you can call it from another program. You can do all kinds of cool stuff like that. But we have the start frame. You just set the frames of what you want to run. You can tell it if you want it to loop. It even has 3D sound, so you can set a sound and tell it how far linear distance you want it to be able to play that sound. We're putting in all kinds of cool features in this stuff. I'm writing plugins. You can write plugins. Everybody that follows me, if you ever need anything on the core product to make your plugin work, we're adding constant hooks and stuff where you can say, I need to put code in this particular area. Anything that you want to do, we can automatically just drop that in there and it'll work. So if you follow me, definitely any one of you, then basically if you need something, you're my first priority. I'll take care of you guys. Just letting you know. Okay, so we're creating things. Let's say you're great at making cars. Well, the thing is, you can create a plugin that lets, let's say somebody drive a Jeep for free. And then once they have that Jeep and they can drive it around in their scenes, all they have to do is download the plugin, turn it on. Now the Jeeps work in their scenes and they can add them just as a thing in any scene that they want. Once they have the Jeep, though, let's say you say, oh, if you want a passenger to sit in the passenger seat, then you need to unlock it and you need to pay a fee to do that. Or let's say, oh, if you want the Ferrari to drive, you have to pay for a subscription. Now you can drive the Ferraris instead. That's the kind of stuff I want to create. That's the kind of environment this is. But can you imagine going there playing golf, or something, and next thing you know, hey, there's a t-shirt shop. You can go in there and buy a t-shirt. The cool part is you create a scene, and if it becomes real popular, what'll happen is you can actually go to the businesses and say, hey, virtual real estate. This game is real popular. If you want your business right here in the scene, then basically if you pay me X dollars a month, you can have your business right there. We're talking virtual real estate and renting out spaces in your popular games. Nobody else in the world has done anything like that, but I'm making it possible, and I did it for free for you guys because there's going to be things where you need from me, and I'll make my money along the way. I'll create sites for people, I'll create plugins for people, and we'll make money on our own. So what I wanted to do, though, was I wanted to kind of create a standard everybody could use across the board, and so that's exactly what I did. Created this standard where everybody has like a common idea of how we use it. Now, it's Babylon. So that piece is all there, and then I added this layer that makes it easy for your end user to administer the site. Now you can just create the plugins, and we can add the plugins just as easy as turning them on. Working this out to be just like what we do for WordPress. But in my case, for example, these plugins, the first one is multiplayer. Different people come to the site. Well, guess what? You can have multiplayer turned on, and you can actually have different people show up into your site. You'll be able to see them. If you click on them, you can chat back and forth. We'll keep on improving it. We'll make it work really well. But that's the whole idea, that I made it That's the whole reason I went open source. I want this to be something everybody can contribute, everybody can talk about, everybody can download. You can give me feedback. You can say, hey, look, this part of the code, we need to change it to this. It works better. Or this fixes this problem I saw. You guys can give me code samples of what you need. Everything. It's a two-way street. I'm always on here. I broadcast about every day. So basically, yeah, that's it. But we're creating some cool stuff like in here. I grabbed this guy for Halloween and we added an animation to him. That's what we do. I come in here and if I see something broke, I fix it. We just keep on working on it, and I keep on pushing out my updates back out to the website. So GitHub will always have the latest. Just so you know, also, I did design it so that it will check for updates and it will give you a badge out here and tell you when there's new updates to this or any of the plugins. So I have code like that already in place. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff. I just keep on adding it in here. And like I said, I want to do some stuff like Ready Player One. So one of my next steps is to make it where you can create your own avatars and you can actually use them on any one of these websites you go to. Yeah, I experienced a little bit of lag. I've had to overcome quite a few things, and the more efficient I get at adding things in and taking them out, then it seems like I'm able to overcome the lag on quite a few systems and stuff. There's still more balance I have to do, making sure we don't load too many objects at once and stuff. But one of the cool things is this. With the design that I did, what's really cool is I've designed it so that it can actually load things as you get closer and unload things as you walk away. For example, when I walk over here and I get a certain distance away, notice some of the objects disappeared off the screen. What happens is I've actually created these zones, which are nothing but a transparent box, and when the avatar walks inside, it tells it to go out on the internet, wherever the server is, get the items that it needs to create the definitions for them, bring them back, then render them on the screen. But notice I also get rid of them when you walk out of that area. So what happens is I created different size boxes for different distances. When you walk up on something from a far distance, basically it shows what I call the extreme zone, and you'll see the item is over there. So you can say, oh, there's a building over there. I want to go check that out. You can have it be whatever objects you want it to show, so it can look like an appearance of a building at a distance. As you walk closer, you walk into another one of these invisible boxes, and what happens is now it would load the outside of the building so that you can see the details of the outside of the building and maybe some window displays or whatever you want it to show from that distance. Then when you walk even closer yet, what happens is you'll go inside of another one, and that's for the inside of the building. But in my designs, I actually let you create as many different of these areas as you need. So you can actually come in here and you can create the load zones, and then for any object in the scene, I can just right click on any object that I have, and one of the options I have under Show Advanced is I can tell it when I want that object to load. So if I say extreme zone, high zone, normal zone, or if I've created any other load zones, they'll show up on this list, and I can tell it when I want that particular item to load. I can also attach sounds to any object on the screen. And they're 3D, so if you turn and you move your head back and forth, you'll actually hear the sound in different areas. The other part is you can also, there's all kinds of cool things for that. But notice, let me refresh the screen just because I'm getting where more pieces you don't have to refresh. But of course, there's a few more that I've added that I haven't worked out everything perfect yet, so you still have to reload certain things. Let's get our guy loaded here. There he is, and my character. We have all kinds of transformations we added. By the way, the guys themselves have your avatar itself. You can choose your colors. You can choose from over 200 animations. But notice, okay, when I walk backwards here, those disappear at that level, but notice that guy's still there. I'm actually waiting for getting into the high zone, which is right there. If I check the zones, there's this one here. And one zone can even load another zone. So it kind of does both things there. That one loads that, and notice it triggered loading that zone. And when I walk in that zone, domino effect. So you can tell it to load things at different style. The whole concept is when you play a game, you basically load up the whole level, you play the level, when you beat it, you unload that, then you load up the next level. But this stuff is one of those deals where basically as you're walking, it loads and unloads things. So I'm teaching it to how to load things and unload things perfectly so that we don't snowball and use up our memory. But it's all kind of cool stuff. Yes, it's all pure JavaScript. And that's what it is. So, and like I said, it's open source, so everybody can get to the different pieces. You can check it all out. You can add code. You can make your suggestions to me. We're doing the whole thing. We're going to keep on building on it. We're going to keep on adding new functionality to it. Everything we do, we just keep on adding to it. I'll keep on creating plugins that do different functionality. I'll keep adding hooks so that you can put your run your code in different places within the thing. For example, if in your code you want something for an on-click or a right-click or whatever, all you have to do is use the hook, tell it, I have code, this is my JavaScript, and this is where it goes in the code, and basically it'll run that piece. So, okay, so any questions so far? We're getting there. And by the way, I am building other things using... I do a lot with Blender just because you can do some really cool, complex stuff. You could do some things natively in the program, but this is my tribute to the book Snow Crash from Neil Stevenson. Basically, in that book, they had a club, and... it's on JavaScript side. Everything is on this thing. It's JavaScript, uses JSON. I do some things where you're saving on the admin side where it uses iframes so that nothing interrupts the actual animation of the scene while it's going on. But this here is a little tribute I did to Neil Stevenson. Basically, in that book, they got on the internet, and one of the places that they went to was a dome-shaped building. And when they went inside, one of the things about it is that it had different sections for different types of people. So you had your section for hardcore developers. You had your section for graphics artists. You had your section for everything. And so I just created this week. It's a new edition I just made. But what it has is we have a whole bunch of sections. We're going to allow different things to happen down below. And they like to have fights down below. You could challenge somebody and do a fight. But in this case, you can also come upstairs, and I'll be putting in, some lounge areas. We'll put in some couches and different things. By the way, we can also play live video, so that kind of stuff works. But yeah, so this is a building I built this week, just getting it started. But as you guys create things, you can even throw them in here, give them to me, and I'll put them into this building so we can have all kinds of cool stuff created from Blender and whatever you create. We'll put your creations in here and make it kind of a developer hangout, programmer. Could be a graphics artist hangout, anything, anybody. And all of our users can come here and check us out. Or if somebody has a question, you can come here and find other people. That's the goal. Not there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. But as you can see, we put a lot of pieces into place. Here's some other functionality. You can create your own avatar. You can select from 10 different avatars. You can select your colors just by basically picking on something and telling it what color to be. You can drag it around. You can also set the name of your avatar. Yeah, that's all good. You can do things like avatar animations. For example, you can change your walk. If I come in here and do, for example, Beast Walk, it takes a second to reload. I'll get better about that, but right now it actually does reload when I do the changes. But it does. I am running with it. That's why. Let's see. When I do the Beast Walk, we get. There he goes, Beast Walk. So there's a couple more adjustments I have to do on some of that, but there's all these different animations. Each one of these have different choices you can make for how to animate when they do that function. We also have optional gestures. You can add different animations, and then down here, you can tell it when to play them. And this all works in multiplayer, so the other people can see it. We have it all under, I used the exact same release as Babylon did, which is the Apache release. So yes, basically it's all based wide open. I matched the one that that Babylon used, since I used Babylon as a core behind mine. Just made more sense to do that. And we still have some, things like, custom note any changes you make to it if you do it, stuff like that. But basically, we can do these different animations in here. My idea is that I made this open. I wanted more people to be able to use it. I wanted to be able to get it out there for everybody. So I basically made sure that we could... it's an open system. I wanted it to be available for everybody. I'm trying to enable everybody to do things no matter what level of programmer or even user you are. And so I try to adapt it and put it into places where everybody can do everything. So I'm, instead of trying to limit what the programmers can do, I'm actually opening up as many things as I can so that programmers can always, do the different pieces. They can add anything they want. And when you need something to make something work, I'm jumping in there and making sure we can do that too. Right now it's reloading my position also, which I didn't have it doing before. I'll have to double check that. But okay, that's just some of the functionality there. And once I do those things, there it is. I know, victory, yeah. Oh, here's another cool part. In the settings, here's what I have. I have the follow camera. You can go to first person view. You can also go to scene camera, so it's kind of back farther. It also has a self camera, so you can look at yourself where you're at. So I have some of those things in place. But then also we have 2D view. All we have to do is switch it, and now it's 3D view for poor man's glasses. Then we also have VR headset, and we have VR headset with the gamepad set up. So you can actually take advantage and use those different things. Not only this, but notice that I'm an admin right now. You can actually browse these sites directly at without the admin loaded, so that's where your end users would actually use it. And you can walk around, do whatever you want to do, and we get the full-on effect of whichever mode you picked. So it does do actual 3D at this point in time, and I have to say, adding to that, Babylon has already added about, I think it's 7 or 8 customizations that are for particular 3D VR glasses. To me, that's just camera views. It doesn't affect anything else I coded. So all I have to do is add these other camera views to what I'm doing here. I'll add them to the drop down. It'll be like 3D VR with for Oculus, and then there'll be one for whatever, But I already know that Babylon already created all those various ones. So all I have to do is generate the camera view, and it will take whatever scenes we've created and automatically render for those different VR sets. So, and thank you for following me. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm working on it. We keep on adding functionality and features. Basically, what I like to do is it's the setup so that people have the framework in place, the things in place, and then from there we can build different scenes. We can make them whatever we can do anything that Blender can do, and we can do it because we can use Blender objects. That's why. And we can do anything that Babylon can do because we drop them in the scenes, and I'm running the Babylon engine. So that pretty much makes it able to do quite a bit of stuff. And all I do is keep on syncing it together, bringing all the various parts in place, and adding them in. So that's where I'm at. That's what I keep on doing and adding, and yeah. So I can't wait till different programmers get in here and basically, add different stuff. They, when we have cars to drive around and it's like a game when you drive, or if you hop on a train and go to the next city over. This is a tool that can allow us to build internet cities, and it'll be places people can hang out. I'm waiting for people to create things like, a museum where you walk through a door that says Gettysburg, and next thing you know, you're in the middle of a battle with horses running by and stuff, and you can pause it, rewind it, fast forward, and everything else in the scene while you're walking around in it. That's the kind of stuff that this stuff is capable of, and I can't wait till people spend some time in there and actually create it. Or online schools that actually have 3D object models that you can manipulate, turn, assemble. Can you imagine learning Autoshop and you're actually pulling apart a carburetor in different pieces? That's the kind of stuff that we can do in 3D. So this is a place where we can actually take advantage of those and actually use the pieces that we've created. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, well, I've said about as much as I can think of. I just keep on coding on it. And like I said, I give it different things. I keep on giving it different functionality. I keep on building as much as I can. As I build it, I keep on fixing it and adding different stuff. Every time I work on it, I come back in here and then I upload GitHub, so it always has my latest. When I do enough fixes or updates, then I put it out as a release to anybody that's already downloaded it, where all they have to do is click one button and they get all the latest code. So that kind of stuff is all on the table, and those pieces are already in place, just to make it simple. Just to make it simple. It's a host for 3D websites. And one of my next things that I'm going to be working on is we have this thing where right now in your settings we can do aliases. So notice I started every website with 3D dot. Instead of www, we do 3D dot. That way all of the websites have that common thing. We already know by the URL that it's going to be a 3D site we find. But one of the things we can do is we can actually set different buildings by themselves without the full scene. So the full scene happens at this level, and if you put a name at this particular level, you can tell it to load a scene. Like if I come in here, I can say I want to load a particular community. There's my domain. It's on HTTPS. And I can say load this small island community and call it whatever I want here. As soon as I create that path, it's now here, and if I click on it, that's the path that allows me to get to this particular scene. It's that simple. If I decide, okay, I need another building in here. Wait for my avatar. It's still loading. Here he comes. Okay, if I decide, I want another building in this scene, it doesn't matter where, I can come in here. Well, I got to edit this scene, by the way. I'm going to click this little link down here to edit the scene. It loads up the same scene, but now I'm editing it. Oh, before I show you the next part, I got to show you this too. I actually included what I call action zones around the doors too, and they trigger doors opening. So the second you walk over here, you get close enough, it automatically opens the door for you. So I have things like that in place already too. But I can come in here and I'm going to rotate this direction, and I can actually say edit this community and add 3D buildings to this community. And from my list of things on my server at this point, I can say put WalkTheWeb Club, for example. Come on, is it doing it? It's a pretty big club. Let's see if it does it. Come on, did something trigger or did I get an error? No error. Is it just doing it? Okay. It's going to... Oh, wait a minute. Add 3D building. Duh. Helps if I actually click the button. Know my own product, right? Okay, now I've actually put this club in this space. And notice how big it is and everything else. The other thing I can do when I'm editing is go to avatar camera so that I can move around a very large area. Okay, so I put this building here and notice it's, too big, too awkward where it's at. It's not facing the right direction and everything else. This is where I can actually move it left, right, back and forth. We can totally set it right where we want it to be. We can also scale it. So If it's too big, too small, we can actually change that because I've actually parented every single object that we add in a scene to a particular place. That way, it makes it real easy to make everything fit. So we can have the object there. I can also rotate it. And now we have a new building. I'm going to go up a little bit. Let's get the ground on the ground level. There it is. There's my ground. Okay. And basically, I now have that building in this place. And when I walk around, it loaded the awning because of where I'm standing. And of course, the insides all came into place. And it is a full-on building. The other thing that's kind of cool, let's say I wanted to show off this building in a different scene. This is kind of funny too. But I can actually take this building and just by right-clicking it, I'm editing it again. I can make it real small. So let's say I wanted to make it 1/10 scale. You can also type numbers in here if you decide. You can either use the arrows to move them, or you can 0.1 and 0.1. And now I have a 1/10 scale of my building in this scene. That's kind of cool. And notice the load zones still work. Notice the awning isn't out, but yet as I walk closer in proportion to the size of the building, now the awning came out. If I walk closer yet, I'll see the insides of the building show up. See, there they are. Kind of cool, huh? That's all part of my designs of how this stuff all comes together and works as a whole. So we're able to create even models of different buildings and use them in our scenes. Everything works. And things undo as you walk farther away. Pretty cool. Now, the designs originally already allowed this to be hosted in one place and the scene hosted in another. What I have to do now is I'm making some things that'll make that real easy. So you can get somebody's URL, like I said over here. Let's say the WTW Club. All they have to do is know this path here, and they're going to be able to add it to your scene. And it'll automatically know what server it comes from. It'll transfer the data from one server to another when you walk inside of the action zones, load zones, and the whole thing will work. So that's kind of the way I designed it and brings it all together. You can have full control of all these parts. We have things that are 3D stores, so you can attach them to a WooCommerce store, and then you edit all your products in your WooCommerce store, and they automatically show in your 3D store. I have a WalkTheWeb piece on WooCommerce right now. I mean on WordPress plugin right now. So WalkTheWeb is there. It's an old version, and it doesn't work for these independent sites yet. But that's one of my next features. Is I'm going to be setting that up to make it work for all sites, no matter who hosts it where. So just so you know, those kind of pieces are all coming together. And that's what I'm doing, bringing all the pieces together so that we have some really cool stuff to work with. We have cool scenes. We have, we have these different pieces, and it's multiplayer, so anybody can actually come to the same scenes, and you'll see each other walking around. You can click on each other, and it already has a chat set up for you. Cool stuff, huh? Oh yeah, and then we have animations, so things like the ceiling fan, that's actually created in Blender. And if I right-click it, you can see, oh, that's the lodge itself. Let me get the object up here. Am I getting it? I know, it's a moving object. Okay. I'm not quite getting it. I'll work on that. We'll find out why. But basically, yeah, I think it's catching this part. We'll figure out why. Okay, so we have all these different parts. We have things like that animated ceiling fan that were created in Blender. Then I brought them in from there. Let's see, ceiling fan. You can just drag it. You can drop things into the scene just by clicking on them, adding them to the scene. It's that simple to work with. So, well, I want to thank every one of you for jumping in here and hanging out with us. Make sure you've followed if you haven't already, because, of course, Anybody who follows, if you need something for your plugins or you want a feature to work, or if there's something we need to pay attention to, then you guys are my first priority. I want to thank every one of you for coming in here. It's been great. But I'm going to jump back into some coding things. We're going to correct a couple more issues that we spotted and see if I can't finish getting this shopping cart functionality out here. We played around today, did some Halloween stuff by adding that ghoul kind of guy. Brought him in from here and added him to our scene. As you can see in our test ground, it's this little scratch ground that I have. But also, I'm on almost every day, so please feel free to join me again and catch what we're doing. And there's a couple things I'm going to fix. For example, when I close this right now, notice when I open it, it is actually clicking on something that it shouldn't. So I'm going to find out what that is and see if we can't block that transaction. Make sure that when I edit this, it's not editing everything. It's not hitting areas that it shouldn't. So, like I said, fixing bugs and moving straight on. It's all JavaScript, PHP in the background, and MySQL. Okay, so what do we have here? This error comes up on line 2168. Yeah, I'm still on. 2168, we're going to fix this real quick because I don't like leaving errors on the scene. Okay, 2168. And I already know what it is. 2168. What's happening is this is going through. No, that's not even the right. Oh, store is not undefined. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Okay, let's make sure. If that's not undefined, that shouldn't be undefined. Okay, that's easy enough. If this is not null, we'll just put that around there and see if that doesn't fix it, because I think what's happening is it's trying to read an object that isn't loaded yet. Oops. Keep our indent straight. And let's see if that doesn't trigger it for us. Otherwise, we'll fix it anyway. Okay, editing this guy here. Okay, we still have it, 2170. Okay, I pushed it down one line. 2170. Why did it say object of 0? Let's see, these are all building mold, building molds, building molds. There's nothing else with an index. Indexes are all clear. I already checked to see if that's null. I check if that's undefined, which should get us this far. Let me think about that one. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Okay, but that would be the root property. Where did I type something wrong? Search is undefined, not undefined. That one's correct. That one's correct. They're all the same. That's interesting. Let's break that down. Let's find out which one's causing it, or if they're all causing it. Usually if I check this here, then it finds it. Let me find out if that should be item 0. That should have caught it right there. If not null. Well, there's another way to tell. Let's make sure we have something here. Boom. This should say object, or it's going to tell me undefined or something. Let's find out which one it does and go from there. Because I think it's coming up undefined instead of null. And because it's doing that, that's probably what's popping our error. Let's find out. Click on this guy as soon as he loads. Heck, we could click it now. And no, it didn't get to the line we thought. Cannot read properties 0 of undefined. Okay, fine. That is not undefined though. Oh yes, duh, it's telling me undefined. Okay. We're just going to add another layer here and say if it's not undefined. We shouldn't be undefined at this point in time, but you know how that is. If it expects it a certain way, it expects it a certain way. That will check to see if it's undefined. Probably one of those cases where it loads it after this statement's already gone through. And when I click on it, now it doesn't cause the error. Oh, wait, it did. Jeez, cannot read property 0 of undefined. Why is it saying property 0, which should be... Unless I spelled something wrong. Okay, let me do this one little bit at a time. Let's find out what is causing it. First of all, does that get rid of the error? Or did it happen 2176? Yeah, because I shoved it down. It was happening on this line now. Oh, pi. Where's pi? There's the problem. Pi is 0. Okay. Oh, there's no... I know what it is. Okay, let's fix it. It moved the line on me, and that finally gave me the clue I needed to figure out where it is. If this part here, pi is there, so if I say... I don't even need to assign anything if this part isn't a piece. So we're going to say if this is not equal null, that should get us the piece we want. And just so you know, this is not something that I created like months ago and we have an error with it. This is something I was working on that haven't even checked into GitHub. So it's a new piece that I've been working on. And this is all part of testing it, fixing errors as we go. You guys are so great to raid. I really appreciate that. You guys made my day. I've never seen my numbers go that high. Okay, now when I right click on him, yes, that took care of it. No, it didn't. 2174. Okay, why do we have it on 2174? Oh, okay, fine. We need to check if this is undefined. If this is not equals undefined, that would help. Is not equal undefined. That'll get us all the pieces we need in here in the check. Make sure everything works. I know I'm nesting a bunch of if statements, but sometimes if you check one before the other one or whatever else, it gives you weird errors. So just nesting them to make sure that it goes through the proper layers. That should be the object, though, that it's working under. It shouldn't be undefined, but we'll work on that. And when I right-click on it, oh, we still have it. Come on already. 2176. Jeez. 2176 is this line. That's interesting. Oh, WTW plugin. That particular one, I believe I'm actually doing away with. Let's see if... We're getting there. We're getting closer one little step at a time. When I right-click that, and it runs that process, and I still have one, 2176, which is the same line that I just remarked out. That obviously didn't reload. Let's try it again. Make sure that we get the latest code. Make sure our browser refreshed. And yes, I'm using Control Alt F5 every time, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything worked the way it should. And now it's 2176. That is really interesting because 2176 is, oh, 2176. Don't tell me I've been doing that the whole time. Okay, pay a little closer attention. And let's go to 2176 instead of 1276. Transpose two numbers. 2176 is right here. Images 0 is not null. We need to check if response images is not null before we bother with that. Let's see. If response images is not undefined, because it did tell us that it was trying to do something with something that was undefined. We'll go ahead and tell it that. And let's see if we just took care of it finally. That would explain a lot. Helps if I don't transpose the numbers in my head when I look up the line of code. And here we go. Right click and hey, amazing what you can do when you don't hit the wrong piece of code. And to check and make sure it's not doing anything when I click save, it is not part of the save process. It was part of the select process. Okay, so what that one was is this process runs when it sets the product on the page. It's trying to set a product on something that doesn't have an image, wasn't able to read the image in, so it had to know what to do with it. And that is all related to this guy over here. The scene was loading and this particular thing here wasn't working. Notice this is my connection to WooCommerce. This product is being read in through the WooCommerce API from a plugin that I created under WordPress. And then when I click read more, it allows it to pop up the actual description showing the original web page and the different products that you have on your WooCommerce site. You can do add to cart and do all that functionality here. Notice also I have one item in the cart. Let me go to the cart. I want to empty it just so you can see that I'm actually adding things to the cart as I go. Well, get that out of the way, and we'll click close, get that out of the cart. Now there's nothing in the cart, and when I click add to cart, I can throw an item into the cart that easy. And did it do it? No, it didn't. Okay, that's the part I'm working on. So we'll get there, we'll get there. That's the kind of stuff that I've been working on, checking before I release this plugin. But we have, yeah, so that, okay, it's not passing the right product ID. Otherwise, we would get something added in the cart. We'll fix that. Could have been an update to WooCommerce too on their side since I adjusted those pieces. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff I'm working on. When I click add to cart, I can tell you already. Add to cart in here. Here we go, add to cart. It brings open this, finding files. Here we go, the next one. Okay, so what's happening is when it adds to cart, it has to pass the product ID from the store. And I think the product ID, if I'm not mistaken, has a little extra on it. So I need to double check what it's adding here. Because I have a combination of the slug and the product ID, and then I have just the product ID. So let's check what's happening right here. wcw log. And this is going to be product ID equals that. Let's check what that does at this point in time when I click that link. Oh, that's so cool. I've never seen that many people in my chats. I don't feel alone in the world anymore. No. Okay, let's see what else we have here. We're coming around over here. And when I click that button, let's see what happens. I have a feeling that it's going to be, yes it is. It's the number 34 with the hoodie and zipper, both the words together. Because of that, it didn't know the product to add, so let's fix that piece. I've already done this about 6 times already, so let me just find where I've separated the product ID from the product. Yeah, like I said, I've done this a number of times. I hate to type in the word product. Yeah, I know. Let's do it anyway. Product ID equals, I know that's going to be part of the case. Product ID. We're almost there. This is where it was. Okay, product ID, slug, and then I separate the two right there. No use in writing code twice. Plus, I like the consistency of having used it the same way exactly twice, so that we don't have different code, different way, different times. Less chance of being a problem. And if it does have a problem, then it has the consistency of having fix it all the exact same way in multiple places. So we're going to say product ID equals, I'm going to set this right here, equals our product. The product is the combination of the slug and the product. Then I'm going to say product ID equals, based on splitting it, based on the bar character. And now here all we have to do is use the product ID instead of both. That takes care of it to that place. And refresh the page. We're going to see what happens. Now we should be able to add things to the cart. Now I can see why I'd use this little test ground instead of loading everything all the way around everywhere else. All I have to do is load this one little scene. There's our little Halloween ghoul. And we have some skulls on the page. Next, I come over here and add to cart. It opens up the page and loading. There it is. We have the hoodie with the zipper. We now fixed that and it's in place. So it's that easy to add the item to the cart. But notice the cool thing about this is you're using your WooCommerce site as your shopping cart, which means all secure transactions, everything happens on that site still. I'm not assuming any of the liability for running your cart. I'm not assuming any of the transactions. None of them are actually happening on my site. It's all just a image of being able to check out and see your actual checkout page, which means if they say, hey, while you're checking out, if there's this that you need to know, everything's intact. It is looking at your original site. Makes it real easy to be able to go back and forth between the two sites. Okay, and notice if we say add to cart a second time, it will increment it, and now we have quantity 2. So it does allow you to pull in different cart, different price, different pieces, and it'll add a quantity each time you've clicked that button. We can also go back to the read more, and notice you have the continuity of 2 items in the cart up here. We are using the other site. Let me show you. If I bring up .http3d.net, which is my test case of the WooCommerce site, if you check out this site, then notice there's 2 items in the cart. That's completely independent of what I'm doing here. I'm still in the same session. I'm still using this, and that is where everything checks out. I'm not interfering with your cart. That way all security, everything else happens on the site with your original products that you're selling. The only thing I'm doing is giving you an alternate way to display your different products. And when you highlight over, this is the short description that it reads in. You only have to maintain your products in one place, and you can show them anywhere you like. Now, I can edit this item. I can change the color scheme around it. I can add more items like this. I can resize them. So it can be whatever thickness and size, whatever you want, our position. We can resize it. whatever you need it to be. And it is a 3-dimensional piece, so it becomes real cool. And we can save our product. You can even set a specific product so it always shows a particular product every time it loads. Or you can allow it to be part of search engine results. Every time somebody searches for something, it can replace on the scene the different parts that it's doing. But that's all kind of the functionality that we've added here. And we're working on it. It's a work in progress. We're getting the different pieces for it in place. And, you know, as you can see, it's all coming together. Well, I want to thank every one of you for watching today. This is really cool. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everyone that's followed me. Dumb Bot, hey, thank you so much for following me. It is so much appreciated. I've been working on this for a number of years. I've been working on it full time for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And we went open source just at the end of September. So this is all new to us as open source. The link to download the code if you want to run it on your own is right below the screen. It's the GitHub site there. Yeah, and welcome. Come back and follow us another time. Definitely, visit with us. I'm on here most days. You'll find me most days in here programming, adding plugins, adding features, adding functionality. If you ever need anything, hit me up. I'll definitely add what you need to make your stuff work. But I'll be showing off how we do things. I also have a YouTube channel down there that you can check out some of the past videos and some of the things I've created in the past year or so. Different times I've created different pieces. I animated a spider, called him Webby. Did some little scenes with that based on here. But every bit of it, just different little pieces that you can check out. But thank you for joining me today. I really, 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 really appreciate it. And I will be back on again tomorrow. So have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.